It's a beautiful day in the nation's capital here in Canada. Now, you got to take advantage of these days because we don't have beautiful days like this all too often in the winter. It's beautifully sunny out, blue sky, we have the snow on the ground, a perfect day for a hike. It's also a perfect day to test out the FREEWELL ND filters for your Pocket 2. Let's get started now. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to say I was sent this kit from FREEWELL. They reached out to me and they asked me if I was interested in doing a review on the ND filters for the Pocket 2. They've seen some of my videos online and I said sure. I was very excited. My channel's still small, so the fact that they're reaching out to smaller channels, hey, that's awesome. However, that doesn't mean I gotta give these ND filters a fantastic review if the product sucks. Now, lucky for me and for FREEWELL, they're pretty well known in the industry to make some pretty darn good glass. So I'm really hoping that these ND filters for the Pocket 2 will work out really well and they will become my new ND filters for my new Pocket 2. I also want to tell you that everything you see in this video is going to be shot on the Pocket 2 with the FREEWELL filters, with exception to a couple shots where you see me walking with the Pocket 2. That will be shot on the DJI Osmo Action as well. So everything is going to be shot with the Pocket 2 in this video. I've used the original Osmo Pocket since it came out and I really enjoyed the little camera. I've done a bunch of videos on my channel on the Osmo Pocket and now the Pocket 2. People ask me all the time which accessories they need to get for the Osmo Pocket and now Pocket 2. I tell them don't buy any accessories right away for this camera, just take it out and play with it. Shoot a bunch of footage and then they will quickly figure out which accessories they will need for their shooting style. The first and most important accessory I do recommend is an ND pack for the Pocket 2. ND filters are so important for getting a good image. Most cinematic cameras that I have used have built-in ND filters, which is great. Some of the Sony cameras actually have variable ND, which is amazing to use. But for most consumer cameras, you're going to need to add some kind of ND filter to the camera lens just to control your image. The Pocket 2 has a fixed aperture of f1.8, so you cannot control the aperture. It's a tiny little camera, you just have to live with it. But you can control the shutter speed and the ISO. So this helps us control the image and how much light is hitting the sensor. Ideally, to get the best image, we really want to keep your ISO down as low as you can. Otherwise, you're going to have too much noise in your image. The lowest ISO on the Pocket 2 is 100. But really on a bright day, even at an ISO 100, your image will be too bright if you do not have ND filters. Of course, you can control this with the shutter speed, but if you really want to control the shutter speed so you have just the right amount of motion blur on your image, you're going to need ND filters on a bright day. We add ND filters so that we can keep the ISO down and our shutter at twice the frame rate. Now, I like to shoot at 4K 24 frames per second on the Pocket 2. So I like to keep my ISO at 100 and my shutter at 48 or 50. This way the image will have the correct amount of motion blur. I like to shoot at 4K 60 frames per second if I want to slow something down with B-roll for my footage. It's really important to shoot at the correct shutter when increasing your frame rate so that your footage will look good. So if I'm shooting at 4K 60 frames per second, my ISO will be at 100 and my shutter will be at 120, twice the frame rate. One of the best things about this all-day pack of ND filters from FREEWELL is the case. It's so tiny, which is perfect because, well, the Pocket 2 is small, so you don't want to carry around a big case. The previous case was much bigger than this one, so that's awesome. It's also magnetic, so they just stick simply onto the lens of the Pocket 2, and they also don't scratch, which is great. And in the case, they just snap in there with magnets as well. They come with 8 filters. 5 of them have polarizers, which is great, which if you're shooting water or windows or anything with a glare, it really helps eliminate most of that glare. And if you're shooting outside with a beautiful day like this in the blue sky, it really makes the saturation pop and makes that blue sky look fantastic. Also, this set comes with an ND64, which is great because sometimes a maximum of ND32 is just not enough. For the original Osmo Pocket, I was using a Polar Pro standard 3-pack of ND filters. I was pretty happy with the Polar Pro set. They do a great job as well. But one of the most frustrating things about the set from Polar Pro was getting these tiny little filters in and out of the case. The filters are held in place with some rubberized foam, and they hold them really well, almost too well. I will tell you that after using these for long enough, the rubber has loosened up a bit, and it's actually much easier to get them in and out, but at first it was tough. The FREEWELL case is great. The filters stick in there with magnets, and they're very easy to get in and out. My only issue with it is that I always get my dirty fingerprints on the filters. Now they do give you a small little lens cleaning cloth, which I definitely need. My Polar Pro set of ND filters maxed out at 32, which I use like 90% of the time. ND32 is pretty strong, but there were some days where it was so bright that I really wish I had an ND64. Well, this kit from FREEWELL does come with ND64, which is great. Now, another quick tip I'll give you when using ND filters with the Pocket 2 is to not get caught up and use a higher level of ND than you need to, especially if you're walking through a forest like this. A lot of times you can get lazy and not change your ND, and what you do is you up your ISO and your shot gets all grainy. Don't do that. That's something I would never do. Never. I also want to mention that I'm out here on my hike and I'm using only the internal microphone on the Pocket 2, which is much better than the original Osmo Pocket. Normally I have the Rode Micro on this thing, but today I decided let's just keep it simple, and we're testing out the audio as well as the ND filter. So I'm really hoping that the audio is good enough. I'm by the river, which is actually pretty loud, and it's pretty breezy today, I would say. So the trees are moving around. So lots of things to distract the microphone and make wind noise, river noise. So hopefully it's working okay. What do you think? Okay, so I took a little bit of a break from the hike and I decided to stop by the little skating rink here in the city of Ottawa. Beautiful spot, not too busy today because it's nice and early. Anyways, we're testing out the FREEWELL filters, and hopefully it's working pretty well with all the glare and all the light going on right now. Okay, so now we're in the shade and we're still trying with the ND filter. Right now I have ND16 on with the polarizer. I'm working the shade. I'm backlit. You can see the sun way behind me, and we'll see how it looks. Hopefully it's okay. It's really hard when you make that change to bright to light. Now we came into the sunny part, and yeah, I'm either overblown or way too dark, and I'm losing my tracking. Anyways, we'll try to keep it as much as we can, but I don't know if it's tracking me or not. Plus I can barely see because I'm squinting into the sun and my eyes are watering. Beautiful winter morning. Okay, so overall I'm pretty happy with this set of all-day ND filters from FREEWELL. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to make them my go-to set for the Pocket 2. My old Polar Pro set, fantastic, worked really well. However, this one comes with 8 different filters and they have the polarizer. So I think for me it's an upgrade and a step up. So I think I'm going to make the change, which is great, and I will continue to use this over time to make a good review and make sure these things will work properly. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. Just a reminder, I have changed the name of the channel. It used to go by Red Arrow Media. I'm losing that. I'm just going with my name, Dave Davies. Yes, that is my real name, Dave Davies. Anyways, if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. If not, that's okay. Hopefully you will find a video that you like on my channel. Anyways, appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we'll see you next time. I gotta go warm up because it is cold out here. I know I'm Canadian now, but still. Canadians get cold. Don't let them lie to you. See ya.